All right, welcome to Season 2, Episode 7 of the Retro Game Club podcast. I am Rob, and with me is the only person that hasn't been pardoned this week, Hugh.
Yes, I'm still trying, though. You know, I've got a lot of stuff to get cleaned off my record.
Or maybe you didn't do enough.
Maybe I didn't do enough, yeah. Yeah, maybe it was only one person from Illinois would get...
Oh, that's
Sorry,
right.
I don't mean, I'm actually really not talking about politics. I'm just talking about the absurdity of Illinois and us having multiple governors who have all gone to federal prison in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Of all parties. So that's why we're nonpartisan here in terms of corrupt governors.
No. Our even on our Facebook, the first thing it says is no politics. So we're just
yeah. So it's
around.
it's more the absurdity of being from Illinois. So what's going on?
Oh man, that is a big question for me this week. Well, I want to start out by apologizing for last show. My audio is bad, and I probably take that worse than most our listeners. But whenever I listen to a podcast and it doesn't sound great, I always think like you literally had one job. Mm-hmm. Make it sound good, and I don't like when I fail doing that, especially since I have a history in audio. I should be able to mix 2 tracks of vocals. So sorry about that, everyone. Hopefully this one sounds good. I've been finishing up my basement. I got it mostly set up. I got, my NES. I'm looking around here. SNES, N64. What else? Wii, Switch, all plugged in and all working great. I'd have to say thanks to my mClassic. It saved me. Some people did write in, with some suggestions about getting my Dreamcast working. I just went back to composite video. Works great now. So no more VGA or HDMI for me. Yeah, and I'm trying to finish it up, and I can't find my Genesis. I have like 5 Genesises, and like a box of them, and I can't find it. So it's a bit of a crisis.
I have a Genesis where the audio stopped working. I don't suppose you want that one, right?
No, I think I have about 3 of those. But I have a few episodes ago I talked about how I got a great deal on those NES controllers for the Switch. I set those up last night, played some Gradius on them. Those are I really like them. There's no lag. They feel exactly like the original controllers, and when you use them on the Switch menus, you get little 8-bit sounds instead of the normal sounds, which I thought was a nice little touch. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying those. And then I took my son to see the Sonic movie, and it is much better than you think it would be.
Okay,
in fact,
good.
I'm kind of excited for a sequel. Now, I'm not, this isn't Shakespeare or anything like that. It's a video game movie. So a very good video game movie is still a video game movie.
Right. I mean, the plot is probably Hamlet, right? Because numerous movies rip off Hamlet as a plot.
I'm trying to think what its analog would be.
I mean, Sonic probably doesn't rip off Hamlet because I assume he's not like a, displaced king or something, right?
No. Not far off.
Got like a usurper brother or something.
It's more of a fish out of water story.
Okay.
Yeah, no spoilers, but it does leave room for a sequel, and it made $70 million in 3 days, and it's still going pretty strong. So I think we're gonna get a sequel or 2. Definitely a great kids movie, and yeah, I laughed a few times. Jim Carrey is not as annoying as you would think he'd be. It's actually a bit more like original Jim Carrey, take it or leave it. But yeah, so it's always nice when you think something's going to be a total dumpster fire, and it's not bad. Good job, everyone.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I've been up to. What have you been up to?
So this was actually something I wanted to post or talk about last week, and then I forgot because I don't remember what I was talking about. About how we were talking about how making voting app. We were trying to be political again. This is not a political discussion. It's a discussion on why would anybody try and make a voting app. Mm-hmm. But it caused me to forget that I just wrote this Genesis programming article, or at least a sort of ancillary Genesis programming article where I've been thinking of doing another Genesis game, and I was kind of I don't know if I can do a game the style that of the first demo I did. I was sort of thinking of doing like maybe more like a Myst style game, even though I don't really like Myst. I have a really weird relationship with Myst where I own probably 4 or 5 different ports of Myst, but I really don't enjoy the game that much. I like the idea of Myst, and I like the presentation and kind of like what it represented at the time in terms of how games were evolving in the mid 90s. But it's really not a very fun game to play. Have you played Myst?
Oh yeah, I like the idea of Myst.
Yeah. So I was sort of thinking, like, what if I could do a game that was sort of like that? Like you have a still image and then you click on stuff and maybe it moves you to another scene or it zooms in on something. And that's actually not very hard to do. Like the framework that I built for the first demo I did, most of it is reusable in a system like that. Except it would require building lots and lots of screens. All right. So I wanted to write some code where I could essentially just create a PNG file, and it would scan the file, pull out all the palette, determine what the palette is, determine what the tiles are, and then like what the pattern for the tiles are. So like obviously if the background is a tiled pattern, you get what I'm saying? Like not save that pattern 50 times, save it once and generate the instructions to draw that pattern. So I wrote an article about how to do all that with some code I've been working on over winter. I tend to do a lot of coding in winter because it's so, it's winter.
Yeah.
My options are either write code or just stay in bed all day.
Don't you love the Midwest?
Yeah. So I took a couple scenes from Eastbook 1 and 2 on the TurboGrafx 16 and ran them through this code to see how they would look on the Genesis. And you can see like the detail, like the resolution's the same, but the Genesis color palette is like a little bit more bland than the TurboGrafx palette. I mean, compared palettes side by side. So you can see like it looks like kind of a watered down version of it. And then I will probably put a link to the article here.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Somewhere in it, I have a ROM that like just shuffles between 3 different scenes that I converted. That's all it does. It's just purely like, here are 3 static pictures and some music. And it looks like a lot, but honestly, this whole thing took me less than 1 day.
It does look like a lot. I mean, image manipulation and really, I don't know what you'd call it. Well, palette recognition. All this stuff's a bit over my head just because I haven't had to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really not that hard. And I wrote most of it in Java, which has a lot of, it has a lot of libraries to do things like load an image and then tell me the color of each pixel in the image. Like it already has methods to do that. I didn't have to write a method to, decompose an image into pixels and identify each color. Like that's just, you just get that in ImageIO. Someone at Sun Microsystems wrote that like 15 or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. So, so that part makes it a lot easier. There's probably like, if you prefer Python, I'm sure this is all doable. This is an equivalent in Python for this.
Yeah.
Tool.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's library for everything in Python and Java.
Yeah. So whatever language I could have done .NET. I just haven't been. I don't want to turn this into like a modern day programming podcast, but it's really just about the tooling. Like, Java, I'm pretty comfortable with Eclipse and the tooling that you get on Linux, and the mono development stuff for .NET feels really, really rough. And it's kind of hard. If you just want to do like, here's a quick project I just want to crank out. At least for me, it's easier to do in Java than in .NET. I think anyone under my age would probably go with Python nowadays. That is kind of the hot language. If you're, I need to write something quickly. I'm just not. It's going to sound weird. I actually work on a massive Python app in real life, but I actually don't know Python very well. I know how bizarre that sounds to people, but it's just not. I can't write a quick Python app.
Yeah, you're more comfortable in Java.
Yeah. So that's about it. That's something I've been working on, and I've been kind of kicking around with some ideas for another game demo. Not sure what I'm going to do yet. The big problem with my Myst style game is that it requires making lots of images, and I'm not a good artist. So I was sort of looking to see if like there were some public domain images that maybe happened to be of a setting that I like already, and then make a game around that. But so far, no good. All right, you want to talk about some news? We got a couple interesting things here. Well, we got a bunch of stuff. Some are very interesting.
Yeah, some not so much. Our first item is a bit old only because when I'm searching for news every week, sometimes I do it on my phone or a tablet or a laptop. This is one I forgot from one of those devices, and I still wanted to put it out here. Tommy Tallarico is making a lot of noise about Intellivision.
Yes.
So he is the CEO of Intellivision, the new Intellivision.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's a great interview here with Game Beats, just about what they're working on, how it's going with the Amico, what the plan is. And it's kind of an early tell-all. I mean, he doesn't avoid any questions.
Mm-hmm.
He's honest about everything, and it seems like things are going really good, and a lot of fun information in here.
Yeah, I was really, when Keith Robinson was the previous owner of Intellivision, for all intents and purposes. I don't know exactly how all the IP and rights work out. I just know that Keith Robinson, he did like a comic. That's originally how he kind of started. He did a comic, and then he bought out most of the rights to the Intellivision. He at least owned the name. He at least definitely had the brand. And I met him once, real nice guy. But when he passed away, I was really, outside of being obviously upset that this pretty good guy died, was also worried that, hey, what's going to happen with the Intellivision brand? Like he presumably has some sort of family. They probably don't want to own it. And when Tommy Tallarico took over, I thought, okay, there's really not a better name I can come up with to take this over.
It seems like he's making all the right moves. One funny part in this article, which I didn't realize, is there's an online game called Roblox that apparently stole a bit of audio from a previous game he did, and they're currently in litigation about it.
And that might very well fund the entire development of the Amico if it goes well for him.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really thought like the nightmare scenario would be like Atari buys the Intellivision IP.
Oh, or how about Konami?
Yeah, or Konami. Well, Konami, it's an American brand, so Konami probably isn't too interested.
Yeah.
But my other one would be like someone with a trust fund or lottery that likes video games buying it. That was like my second worst nightmare scenario.
And they just make a cryptocurrency out of it or something.
Right. We have Intellivision coin or some nonsense. Like they think it's one of those people who like, I inherited a bunch of money and therefore I think I'm smart. Like that would have been not as bad as Atari buying them, but pretty close.
And I like how he's saying this is a closed system. We have 100 games in development. There's going to be 40 at launch, Earthworm Jim being one of them. And our games are the kind of games that you have, 3 or 4 developers tops, maybe another music guy on it. And after launch, there's going to be like 2 games a week released. I think that's kind of a fun system, especially for who this is targeting. Like if you're going to want to play Call of Duty and stuff like that, this isn't for you. But if you're into some, party games and you have some kids, family games, this might be a great second system for you, So, cool article.
Yeah. All right. And now our next most political article of the day, 1986 Super Mario Slippers.
It's barely an article.
It's a Kotaku article, which is a picture of some slippers from the 80s that someone found and are still in a sealed plastic thing.
Yeah, these white Mario slippers with looks like just Super Mario Brothers 1. I guess that's all it would be.
I guess, yeah. These just sort of look like something Vans would make today.
Yeah, they're pretty hip actually. And that's really it with this. There's no like story behind them. Just someone found really nice boxed slippers of, I don't know. Yeah.
All right. And deeper meaning behind Link's Awakening, a game about social awkwardness. I always thought it was an attempt for them to make a Twin Peaks themed Zelda game, but this is actually about social anxiety.
I guess, at least to this author on
Yeah.
zeldadungeon.net. And really, what I get from this article, I get some things from it, but, they talk about how what's stated over and over in this game is, all perfect dreams, eventually you wake up and it's not perfect. And this could be used for kids, realizing that the world might not be what they think it is, and that you just kind of put one foot ahead of the next and keep on keeping on and make the best out of any situation. That's what I got from this.
Yeah, and of course you are free to interpret a game any way you choose to.
Yeah.
So that's the great thing. Like, I mean, obviously, like the developers of the game had something in mind, and if you get something else from it, that's great. Like,
Yeah, just like a movie or a song or
or
whatever.
book or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was always bad at high school English because I had a really hard time accepting that books had any meaning other than what they just sort of directly said. I'm like, no, Old Man in the Sea is about a guy trying to catch a fish. I don't understand. Like, wait, is that what Old Man in the Sea? Or am I confusing that with Moby Dick now? Told you I was not a good English student. New ZX, or as they say, ZX Spectrum game. Alhambra Tales?
I'm
Alhambra
glad
Tales.
you're the one that pronounced that.
I add an extra A. Alhambra Tales. And this looks like a kind of a... The screenshot is very sort of horror-themed looking, in that it's like a guy being chased by skeletons in a dungeon. Colors look really cool. It's got that, palette you kind of expect from ZX Spectrum games. Little bit slow, like the demo movie on here. It doesn't look like, I mean, it's obviously a new game in development. It's not finished. It looks like they haven't quite worked out like collisions and timings yet, but it looks really good. Like the graphics look nice. So I think this thing's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, it's always good to see that stuff being made. Yeah, this is on Indie Retro News.
And the company that I always call Halco, but I guess is actually Jaleco. They have an old game, Saint Dragon, that is having a comeback on the PS4 and Switch.
Yeah, this is a game I never played before, but I watched this video. It seems like R-Type, but you play kind of a dragon head that's immediately attached to a tail, and you could use that tail to block bullets coming at you. So it's a sideways or side-scrolling shoot 'em up that, yeah, you actually could block stuff. It's kind of a cool mechanic.
I feel like I have this on some arcade collection, but I'd not played as much because, again, I was not good at R-Type. I like the graphics of R-Type, but I'm not any good at it. So if I saw an R-Type game, I probably would have just been like, oh, I'm scared to play that because I'll die.
Well, I just saw that it was released on PC Engine and C64. So those are the only things that I would have played it on. But yeah, I don't think I really played this one or even seen this one before. But yeah, this seems like a perfect Switch game.
Ooh, I have some of these games. So the next article is about Double Dragon and Kunio-Kun Retro Bundle coming out, I guess, tomorrow. We're recording this on the 19th, and I guess it's being released tomorrow on the Switch. And this is an 18-game collection of games from that series. In America, like, River City Ransom and Super Dodgeball are probably the two games that 99% of people that would know these games know of. Does that make sense? But there's a whole bunch of other ones, because I actually imported some of the PC Engine games, and I see that they're on here too. And this is the first official localization for some of these games.
Yeah, and you'll recognize these games because everyone's head looks kind of like a potato. with
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah, they have a very distinct graphical style. But yeah, again, some of these are like, never, downtown Netseku super awesome field day. Like that, that's one you had to import for a very, very long time.
Yeah, and now they're going to be in English, first time localized. The other games are Double Dragon 2, The Revenge, Double Dragon 3, The Sacred Stone, Renegade, Super Dodgeball, River City Ransom, and Crash 'em the Boys Street Challenge, which is one I have never played.
Mm-hmm. It's late NES release, so I think a lot of people didn't get to play that.
Mm-hmm. I don't see a price on here, but we'll be able to see a price tomorrow. I can't imagine this being a lot.
I predict it opens at $30, is on sale for $10 within a year. By Christmas time for sure.
Let's see if it's listed yet.
Well, hold on. Nintendo.com has a page. My ad blocker seems to be
$39.
$39. So it's $2 a game.
Oh, I guess it is a lot of games, but still.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that's going to go on. So this is going to be 60% off.
Yeah, I'm going to hold off on that one.
Speaking of which, if you have a Switch and you haven't bought Ys 8 yet, I know this is like totally off topic. Ys 8 is half off the download version right now until March 1st.
And that is that's one of the best Ys games, I think.
Yeah, I might rank it as my second favorite. The Ys 4 remake, like Ys 4 was my favorite Ys game until the Ys 4 remake, and then the Ys 4 remake became my favorite, and I think it still is my favorite. But 8 is really, really good.
Yeah,
8 actually, like I'll admit, like mechanically, 8 is a better game than the 4 remake. What 4 kind of has going for it is kind of like soundtrack and story, or maybe a little bit better. The 8 story is really good too, though. So
we should just do an Ys episode sometime.
Yeah, we should. Yeah. I've played all of them and finished all except for 5 because it's sad to say 5 is not a good game. It's when Falcom was trying to switch the game style over. So like the first Ys 1, 2, and 4 all use like that bump mechanic. And with 5, they decided to do more like a Zelda type mechanic. Where you actually are swinging a sword.
I'm trying to think if I played that.
No, it was a Japan only release.
Okay.
There are translations, so I played the translated version. But they just really, without, we could do an Ys episode later. I'd love to do an Ys episode, but the short version of 5 is like they just hadn't figured out the gameplay mechanics yet. So it plays very, very badly. And then Ys 6 and Ys Origin are basically the exact same game engine. And those are fantastic. They're fantastic. They play great. So those are very good.
Yeah, I think I played those on PSP, I want to say.
Yeah, those are both on PSP, and there are Ys Origin was Vita. There's a Vita release and Steam release, and you can actually download on PS4 also. Ys 6 was PSP and PS2.
Really? Okay. All right.
Yeah, you're gonna have to trust me on that one. Yeah, Ys Origin actually came out after Ys 6, but mechanically they're almost the exact same game.
Before we get off the stuff Nintendo's releasing, the other night when I opened up, I guess it was last night. No, when the NES controllers arrived, I thought, wait a minute, is there an SNES controller by Nintendo for Switch? And so I just Googled it while I was, laying in bed or whatever. And I landed on Nintendo.com on an SNES controller by them for Switch that said come back on February 20th.
Yeah, because it's sold out, right? They had one and sold out.
Yeah, it's currently the 19th. And I just went to it just now, and they're back in stock, and I am ordering. So if anyone's looking for them, they are back in stock now. I didn't even realize they ever got released.
Yeah, they did, but they sold out really fast. I was sort of looking at them like, with a Switch Mini or Switch Lite, whatever it's called, I don't know if I can get a controller. Probably not.
The only time my Switch leaves the dock is when I travel, so it'll get use. But yeah, more news.
Yeah, we got some game preservation news. Apple, Puckman, and Mahjong for Apple II Preserve. So this is a site, I don't know if we've talked about them before, gamingalexandria.com. They do video game preservation work.
Mm-hmm.
And these are disk images that I guess, I don't know if they've never been released before or if these are different copies.
This one was a tape.
The tape, well, yeah, correct. It's off a tape. So this could be one of the, only still working copies. But one is Puckman, which is, of course, Pac-Man. For Apple II, looking at the video they posted, I've not seen this version. I've seen other Apple II Pac-Man before. Never seen this one. It's definitely a different game.
Yeah, it's pretty rudimentary.
That's a polite way to put it. And then Mahjong is just Mahjong. This actually, this is the not Shanghai style Mahjong. It's one player. This is the, versus Mahjong.
This one looks a bit better than the Puckman one.
Yeah, it does. But there's not a lot of moving parts in Mahjong.
No.
So yeah, you can go there and grab disk images for both of those. I like to talk about translations. There's a game called Sorcery Saga 1, which was a Genesis game or Mega Drive game that has not previously been translated. It now has a fan translation. So if you have this game, this is an old... this was an RPG that was both on Genesis, and there might have been a Game Gear version of it too.
There was, yeah, which was translated before.
Yeah. And it looks like a neat game. I'd probably play this.
Yeah, kind of a anime RPG type game, right?
Yeah. Yeah, very, very, very anime look to it here. Very kind of cute. It's like a kind of cutesy RPG.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get that translation now. Dragon's Cache, as in Cache. Someone might call it cache, but I would not.
No.
This is a new Atari 7800 game. Very, very columns-inspired game. And it's not done yet, but it is in beta release if you want to give it a try. I gotta say, looks really, really good.
Really smooth graphics. Yeah.
Yeah, I dare say the animation is as smooth as columns on Genesis. The graphic quality might not be as good, but it's moving very, very well. I definitely think this looks like a good game.
Yeah, absolutely. This is also on Indie Retro News.
Mm-hmm. Hey, do you have a Dreamcast but no case? Like just a spare Dreamcast with no case or drive lying around?
Then we got the article for you.
Yeah. The Dreamcase Dreamcast Replacement Shell. So this is a case for really intended for like a modded Dreamcast. The one that has the mod that removes the CD drive and has a SD slot instead.
Yep, and also the mod where you solder HDMI right to the board.
Right to the board, yeah. Now this case does look really nice. If I could pay someone to mod a Dreamcast, I would definitely use this case rather than the default Dreamcast case. This just looks, because then you're playing something different. It's kind of a neat little thing.
Yeah. I have the GDEMU, which is the SD card, and that works great. I don't have, obviously from all the complaining I've been doing, I don't have the DC HDMI upgrade, just because I don't want to solder my Dreamcast. I'm not good at that.
Yeah. So this would be another one. Like if I inherited a bunch of money, which I'm not going to, unfortunately. This is like a money inheritance episode. This would definitely be, I would definitely like this. It's just, I don't have the skills to do that kind of Dreamcast mod.
And then it's one more thing that you're doing where you're not playing games. You could be spending that time playing your Dreamcast.
Yeah.
We have an Engadget article. Hasbro's relaunching Tiger Electronics gaming handhelds. Why?
Yeah. And they're
Other than
basically the
cash
original
in.
price, $15. Why don't they just
It's
do
two
one
AAs.
that, like, I would actually, I mean, these games are all terrible. Some of them are okay. I played, like, the Mortal Kombat one once. I don't know if they still have the license to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's playable. I don't know, is that a good review? Like, it's moderately fun. But, like, if you just had a system that had 50 of these games loaded, well, I guess you do, it's called archive.org. But in a form like this, where you could actually, like, switch through games, that I would be willing to spend a few dollars on. But just 15 for one of these units, I mean, oh, no, I don't think so.
No. I don't even know who this is targeted to. Yeah, it's. But we had to put it in there. If one of our listeners is excited about this, please let us know. Like, what are we missing? Email at retrogameclub.net.
Yeah, it's just for collectors, basically. Because they're doing Sonic 3, Little Mermaid, Transformers, X-Men, and I think that is it. So it's just if you collect one of those things. That's all. It's okay. You can collect, though. You can collect, if you love Sonic the Hedgehog, and you want to collect every Sonic the Hedgehog thing, and you want to buy Sonic the Hedgehog Tiger LCD Repro, fine. I just can't imagine you're going to get it and play it.
Is that all the news already?
It is, yes.
All right. Well, let's go into some games. You had Frogger 2?
Yeah, which I guess
Which one?
I was really excited to play this game, so I went with the Atari 2600 game called Frogger 2. And this came up because I was doing some cleanup on my site and realized I had a bunch of Atari 2600 ad scans that, like, I scanned and uploaded, but then didn't actually link anywhere because I do dumb stuff like that all the time. And one of them was for Frogger 2, and I'm like, oh, I got to try that. That game looks so much fun. Like, it just looks like a lot of fun, right? And it kind of is. I mean, it starts off like Frogger, a little different. You're not crossing a road. You're now crossing, I guess, a river. I didn't read the manual. But you're basically crossing a river, and there's hazards, much like the cars and other stuff that can kill you. It's a lot faster, I felt, than the original Frogger. And I sure died a lot. Did you play this? I died about
but you die a lot in Frogger 1 also, right?
I did way better in Frogger 1 than this one. Way better. There's just, like, it seems like there's more enemies. There's, like, submarines coming after you in this. You know what I mean? You know, sharks.
There's a turtle that could pick you up.
Yeah, like everything. It's really, it must not be a river if there's submarines. You must be swimming some much larger body of water. And you make it to the other side, and then you get to another stage that's kind of the same, but a little bit different play mechanic to get across the other side. Yeah, it's kind of like a Frogger ROM hack, you know, where it's like, we're going to take Frogger and just hack it to be a lot more difficult.
I enjoyed this, though.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. I think I like playing original Frogger more.
I was impressed with how much I did like it. You know, the gameplay was fine. You know, I thought the gameplay was as good or better than the original Frogger. You're lucky you didn't play the N64/PS1 Frogger 2.
No, I did not. I saw that there was also a PS1 game called Frogger 2 and debated doing that one also. Obviously, it's a completely different game. How is that one?
It may have been the worst game I've ever played.
Okay.
I had to read how to play it, and it's a Frogger game, and it's just a nightmare game. One of those games that, like, oh, we have polygons now? Well, let's pull out an old IP and put it in 3D kind of thing, and just a nightmare of a game. And I played that before I played the 2600. I think it was the 2600 version of Frogger 2. And maybe that's why I liked that version so much better. Uh, do you know if Frogger 2 was ever in the arcade?
No,
Let me
I
look
believe this.
that up.
It looks like it was a direct home game.
Okay. Yes, you are correct. But it was also on the, according to Wikipedia, uh, come on. It was also on the Apple II, 5200,
Hmm.
C64, and ColecoVision, which I did not know was on Coleco. That might be a good port of it.
Yeah, I mean, once it's on
But
one system, you make it for everything at that point.
yeah, yeah. But
But yeah, it was basically like Parker Brothers had the license, and I think they developed rather than the original one is a port of a game, of course, and this was like we're going to just build a new IP, cash in on the Frogger license we have.
hmm yeah, yeah. But I mean, if it was whatever year this game came out and you got that cart, you probably wouldn't be disappointed back then, right?
No, I think it. I guess you do have to look at it that way. Like, yeah, in 1984, I probably would have been much more impressed with the game than I am now.
Yeah, absolutely. Any final thoughts on it?
No, I was looking on eBay. It's about a $10 game to get loose. That's probably one of the reasons. It's one of the. I don't know. I don't have like a. I mean, I have a pretty big Atari 2600 collection. I
hmm
don't have Frogger 2, and I think now I'm debating if I found it, if I would keep it or flip it for a quick $20.
Well, I did Star Wars Rogue Squadron on the Nintendo 64, and I probably haven't played this game since maybe the year 2000, something like that. And wow, I love this game. It's difficult, but
Hmm.
not in a way that deters you from playing it. I think it's really fair. I love the gameplay. You play in an X-wing, a Y-wing, A-wing, which is the fast one, and near the end of the game, you get into a V-wing, which is something that was never in the movies, and you play as Luke. And yeah, you're shooting down Tie fighters and tethering AT-AT crawlers, which is probably the most frustrating part of this game. That control was not very good
Hmm.
at all.
Yeah, I've never played a Star Wars game where, except for maybe Empire Strikes Back on 2600, where fighting AT-ATs was not completely annoying.
Exactly, yeah. Where it seems like a good idea, but it's not. And yeah, this game, I was kind of dogging on the N64 last episode. One charming thing about the N64 is I love how MIDI ad lib some of the music on it sounds because they didn't have, Redbook audio to
Hmm.
work with. So this has a great soundtrack. It has a lot of voiceovers, especially for a cartridge. Yeah, your field of view isn't that deep. It really works for me. I can't find many things I don't like about this game. I played it on the mClassic, which maybe made it look a little bit better, a little upscaled. Yeah, developed by Factor 5 and LucasArts and released in 96, which this wasn't a launch title, was it?
No,
No,
no.
because there's only like two launch titles, yeah. Uh I've never played the sequels. Shockingly, I would like to get them on GameCube, and I heard at least one of them is good. Yeah, you get a chance to play this one?
Yeah, a little bit. Mostly with this game, I was interested in trying out the cheat codes.
I was just gonna bring those up. Yeah, please go on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's some cool stuff in the cheat codes here. Because you can unlock different vehicles, of course. You can unlock all the levels ahead of time. Let's see, you get Millennium Falcon. You can get as a vehicle. Um, they
But there's a
have
much cooler vehicle,
which one?
the Buick
The Buick
Electra.
1969 Buick Electra. You can do. There's a bonus level you can unlock. Um, And then just like a few, it's like pictures of the developers and that kind of stuff in there. But I mostly like being able to try the different vehicles, and just unlock, because these games you have to do, you have to like clear the level and get certain scores to unlock other vehicles in the level sometimes. And I don't have time for that anymore. So I just, like I want to go fly the TIE fighter. So you just unlock it. And some of these levels clearly, like you can use vehicles that aren't really intended for that level, except for the AT-AT levels. That one, I think you're locked in that you can only use the snow speeder, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So games for next time. Game Club games.
For reasons people will find out in a few minutes, I'm going to go with Galaxian.
All right. I will play Galaxian for sure. I have this little miniature Galaxian arcade cabinet right here. No, it's actually pretty. Okay. This is basically the NES ROM on a miniature cabinet. And I'm going to go with Xevious. The old arcade game Xevious.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while since I played that, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
And if any of our listeners play any of these games, any games we've ever talked about, or really any retro game, please email us. email@retrogameclub.net. And let's go ahead and jump into the topic.
Yes.
I'd been trading emails with Arabian Prince from N.W.A, the rap group from the 80s, and since then he has invented the mClassic, which we talk about on this show, amongst many, many, many other things. It's a great interview. There's actually he dropped some news on us, first time breaking news on us, which is kind of cool. And yeah, please have a listen. We're interviewing Arabian Prince, ex-N.W.A member, current gaming enthusiast, amongst many, many things. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, yeah, anytime.
Yeah, so want to take us back to how you got started programming? I understand you've done like 30 or 40 video games.
Yeah, probably more than that, honestly. And how I got started was kind of crazy. So I used to be a DJ back in the early 80s when I was young, like, 15 years old, 14, 15, DJing at elementary schools and stuff like that to make money. And I was blessed enough that I had actually crazy uncles and cousins who were crazy enough to be sent away to the military, because they were that crazy in the neighborhood. They came back from the military reformed and knowledgeable, and they would come home with these amazing presents from their tours overseas, like ARC 2600 synthesizers and ham radios and a lot of electronics in the early days, and me being a young kid in the late 70s, I got to play with a lot of this stuff. So that was like my spark into electronics. And then when I was 16, I made my first record. And when I got my first royalty check, the first thing I ran out and did was bought Commodore VIC-20, Trash 80,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, all the early computers. I even had like what else did I buy? The Trash 80, VIC-20. I had oh my God, I just bought everything I could get my hands on. And, as we all know, I was at the beginning of it, and there was no internet. We're from the before times, and you just kind of followed the pattern of, what do I do with this thing? Like, I want to learn more. So I just got the books, and the young kids out there listening wouldn't even know I was at Egghead Software every single day. Just kind of looking at the books and buying everything I could get on, and taught myself how to code, taught myself how to do animation, and got lucky and ended up in the parallel universe, making hit records and doing animation and going to SIGGRAPH every year. And that's how I got discovered.
That's cool. So you were, you taught yourself to program on all those?
Yeah, I taught myself to program on all of those. I started doing sprite animation and some sprite games at first, and then I put up my first BBS. And for those out there who listen, that's a bulletin board before the internet was ever made, where you had to dial in. And I had probably the first ever game bulletin board. It was called a Game Syndicate, and people could dial in and play little small games that I had created.
Nice. What year was that?
Man, it had to be 85, 86, something like that, because I know
that was early in the BBSing. Yeah.
it was kind of like right around the time when I was doing some N.W.A stuff. So it was literally around that time. Yeah. And I mean, I was on like a 400 baud or 800 baud modem at the time too. It was horrible.
Yeah. It would take you a day to download the song. We all did BBSs back in the day, and
Oh yeah.
that was the worst part of it was all the waiting just to get some little game.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, I mean, I've read some funny articles about you talking about doing some Barbie games and stuff like that. But what other in your 30 or 40 or more games? What are some of the favorites you've worked on?
Barbie, early Crash Bandicoot, Simpsons, Hit and Run, Simpsons, like 3 or 4 Simpsons game, King of the Hill. I hated the King of the Hill game for the fact that tried working on King of the Hill for like a year and a half. And if you've ever watched King of the Hill, there was one episode with was it Luann? Was that his little niece or something, whatever her name was? She did this episode called Manger Babies, and there was a bug in that part of the game. So we had to just sit there and listen to this Manger Baby song for like 2 months until we figured out what was wrong with it. And literally in my sleep, I was singing Manger Babies. To this day, it just haunts me. And I'm trying to think what the good games we did, like early Lord of the Rings stuff. I had got to Fox Interactive right after they had, and this is a funny story. So I got to Fox Interactive, and how I got there was I was doing all of the visual effects for Saban. I worked on the first series of the Power Rangers, Silver Surfer. I did the Silver Surfer cartoon, Casper, Addams Family movies, all of that stuff, and got to Fox Interactive because I found out that they were doing interactive stuff, and I wanted to do gaming. And they had just done the first basketball, because it used to be Fox Sports basketball. And I wasn't part of that project, and thank God, because it was so bad. You could shoot 3-point shots from, like, you could inbound the ball and hold the button down and swish a 3-point shot from the other court. And the game was so bad, in one of the game magazines, somehow they found a picture of all of the people who worked on it at Fox. And it said at the top of it, Fox Sports basketball, and they had the B crossed out, so it just said basketball, and it said shame on you. That was like the title, and I was like, thank God I wasn't working on that one.
Oh yeah, that's like a bug you get on an old system. I remember, like, on Intellivision Baseball, you could bunt for a home run.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yes.
So yeah, you always thought that was. I was not really a baseball expert at the time, but I knew that was wrong. Simpsons Hit and Run, though, great game. Absolutely one of my favorite games of the Zeros.
A lot of bugs in that game. I remember especially because you could drive the car around, the car would get stuck in places and it would literally brick the game. Like you couldn't continue. So we spent months and months and months driving around, bumping into stuff, trying to get the car stuck, and eventually we got the game out. I think my worst bane of existence, I loved all the Barbie titles. I did Barbie Horse and Barbie Yacht or something. And my desk used to be pink with Barbie stuff, which I did it on purpose because I dared somebody to say something to me about my desk. Like, yeah, say something about my Barbie desk. But I think my worst bane of existence was doing the Cat in the Hat game for the movie. And we did the game, and I had to fly to Canada because that's who was actually developing the game. I was stuck in Canada for a month trying to launch it during Christmas because there were so many bugs in the game, and we had to actually manufacture the game, put it in the box, get it in the store, and it was broken. It was broken. It was in the distributor broken, and we had to patch it before Christmas. So that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that you worked on a good portion of, like, my daughter's childhood, because, like, my oldest daughter loved Barbie Horse. Played a ton of that game. And then when my kids got older, they're like, hey, I really want to try Grand Theft Auto. And I'm like, here, how about you try the Simpsons Hit and Run? It's really the exact same game, but you don't have a gun. Like,
yeah, most definitely.
What was your favorite system to work on back then?
You know what? I've always been a PC guy, honestly. And for me, I'm just, because, most of the big art, I'm an RPG guy. I'm a shooter. I was a Quake. I used to play Quake. I was a Quake champion and all of that kind of stuff back in the day. But for me, it was always been RPGs. And that's why I was a big computer guy. And I wanted to work on a lot of the games that were on PC and not on console. So, yeah, for me, it was PC.
So what RPGs were influential for you?
Oh, my God. Elder Scroll.
Okay.
Baldur's Gate.
Okay.
Diablo, early Diablo, not late Diablo. But yeah, what's the space one? The first space game. The one that had the one from where they hacked it and did like made the song out of it. Remember the bad English?
Oh, All Your Base?
Yeah.
That was Zero Wing. Yeah, that was.
What was that?
Well, Zero Wing was the one with the bad translation. Yeah.
Yeah, all of that early stuff, and I swear to you, every RPG came out, like even like Leisure Suit Larry, stuff like that.
Space Quest and King's Quest and all that.
Yes, King's Quest. I still like have a lot of my old systems, and I'll fire them up every now and then and go through like a half level or something. Then you got to go, this is useless.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least once a year. King's Quest V is probably my favorite in the series. And yeah, about once a year, I'm like, I'm going to play through King's Quest V. And then I die in the first 5 seconds because I forgot how to survive in the game and give up. But yeah, it was a really great game at the time. Because back then, like you said, you didn't have the internet and you didn't maybe have a ton of games. So you're just kind of pounding through that game like trial and error the whole time.
Yeah, and loading disc, like load next disc. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're also involved in Innovate Next. Want to tell us about that and tell people how they could help out or do anything?
Yeah, so my Innovate Next project is Innovate Next in Open Labs. It was something that I wanted to do because I travel around the world and, people always want to ask me, how did you get to where you are? Like, we know about N.W.A. stuff. We know about the music, but how did you go from music to tech? And I'm like, well, it was a parallel world for me. I did it at the same time, but it wasn't cool and hip to talk about tech. I mean, doing tech in the 80s and the 90s, and being a rapper. That was like shunned upon. Now all the rappers want to be tech guys, and I've been doing it for 37, 38 years now. And Innovate Next was one of these things that I want to give back to not only the inner city, but to elderly veterans, anybody who has a thirst for technology and the future of tech, but don't have the tools to do it. And meaning that we're in the process of building a huge space, which I'm trying to call it, it's open labs, but it's more like Willy Wonka in a chocolate factory. You walk in and you go, the chocolate room, and you just touch, go, play, do whatever you want. What is that? It's a 3D printer. Go play with it. You can't break it. We'll show you how to use it. No curriculum. Go play, hammer, break. If we find out what you like, and when we find out what you like, we pass you on to one of our partner companies that specializes in that. And like even now in esports, now that I'm deep into esports, I know, and we've counted, there's over 100 jobs in esports that no one's ever heard of. Shoutcaster, think about the producers, the directors, the cameramen. I'm talking about the virtual cameramen in game. You can't teach a regular cameraman how to do that because they need to go and learn League of Legends and then know the game in and out and then be able to actually, work virtual cameras in game and competition. So there's so many things that this next generation of youth can learn from, but there's no place to do it. And we want to be that place.
Yeah. I know just from, my kids are teenagers now and, like parents like around our age, a lot of them don't want their kids getting into like hard contact sports, and like esports is a way to kind of work out a lot of that energy, and get the same kind of feeling competition, the same excitement and teamwork and all that stuff, but you're not getting hit in the head.
Yeah, well, I say you can make $1 million and not get a concussion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're right. None of it existed. I was just, as my oldest daughter's getting close to finishing high school, I was just talking to her about like, when I was in high school, if I went to my guidance counselor and said, I want to narrow my career choice down to 2 things. I either want to open a weed store or be a professional game player, right? Like both of those, I would have been laughed out of the building.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's true. And now that's the premier jobs right now. Like that's where everybody's making all the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you doing in esports?
Have a couple companies. I partner with a company called Black Dog Gaming and Black Dog Venture Capital, and we're tackling a lot of stuff on the infrastructure side of esports. We're doing fast pitches where we're allowing startup companies who have technology or other types of things in esports to pitch to big investors. Because a lot of the investors now are mostly investing in the actual teams, which that's fine. But unless you're unless you're the Lakers of esport, or there used to be Golden State of esports, not anymore. But unless you're one of the top tier 100 Thieves, or all of these kind of clans and stuff like that, you're not going to make money. So we figured, why get into that side of it? Let's get into the infrastructure side, because everybody's building and trying to build the next esports dynasty, business-wise, arena-wise. So we're putting together that and consulting and helping people build out arenas, build out esport hotels, all of these things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And are you also involved in you do some VR or AR stuff too, if I read correctly?
I dabble in that. I was in the VR space, and for all the VR people in the world out there listening, don't get mad at me. It's slow to take off. It's been a long road and long journey. I believe in it, but I also know the fact that us as human beings, we do not like being cooped up, and it's that thing in the back of your brain, where you're immersed. You can't be immersed for a long period of time. That's just our nature. We can do it for a short period of time. And I liken VR to going to Disneyland or Magic Mountain. You go for a while and you go, oh, this is cool. And then you put it down and you don't do it again until, oh, I forgot I had that. Let me try it again. AR, mixed reality, I think that's where it's going. And, as technology gets better and faster and cheaper, we'll get there. But I think just being totally immersed is not the way it's going to be mixed reality. So I'm kind of dabbling in that and artificial intelligence and some stuff like that. But for me, my passion is building the future of tech, hardware, software. I just partnered with a company, and we're actually about to build the pro. How can I put this? And this is an exclusive. This is a scoop for you guys. No one knows about this.
Cool,
we're about to build a company that's going to make like very, very high-end gaming peripherals. I'm talking about, we want to be the Bugatti, the Rolls Royce, the Bentley of gaming, and no disrespect to all the other gaming companies out there that make products, but they want to mass produce and make a ton of products for the market. And then the next year they want to make something and make you buy the next thing. We're going to make something that's kind of bespoke, where it's very high-end, like very high end, like quality for the pro player. Because if you think about it, baseball players don't use the same bats that you use. Like, it may look like the bat that you bought at Dick's Sporting Goods, but it's not. LeBron James's his 10 LeBron 10 shoes, his shoes aren't the same ones that you're buying at Foot Locker. They look the same, but the technology and the insoles and all of the things are different. So we want to build a higher end quality brand of gaming peripherals.
So would that be like controllers, and would it be like, very low latency TVs and stuff like that?
We're looking at the whole gamut, because, as you know, I did the mClassic thing. So that's part of that technology. I'm talking keyboards, mice, headphones, mouse pads, we're dabbling into the supplement line and health and wellness for gamers, because just like pro athletes, remember, if you think about it, it's going to take a while. In the beginning of football, baseball, basketball, and pro sports, it was a very early, road to them getting to now where they're into this future of just science and technology, like eating and exercising and all of that. And the same thing is happening in esports. These esport players who used to just be gummy bears, pizzas and Mountain Dews and Red Bulls are now exercising, and they have chefs and all of these things. So it's a whole package, and we want to be that company that helps to bring that pro mentality to the market space.
Yeah. The stereotype of like the morbidly obese gamer, I guess, it's still out there. I mean, like Saturday Night Live just did a skit kind of making fun of that, right? Yeah.
And if you look at even sports, there's some guys in sports that aren't in the greatest shape. They have the natural ability to succeed, but the longevity is not there. And even for a gamer, in order to have longevity, you got to do a lot of things. Like, I often say, like, if you play for 12 hours a day, you better get you a masseuse that's just rubbing your carpal tunnels. You know, like rub my carpals. Every single day.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're putting in longer hours than a lot of other sports. Absolutely.
This is my livelihood. You got to take care of it. So we want to help with that.
So you brought up the mClassic. I've been talking about it the past few episodes. I want to say I am not sponsored by you at all. I bought my own. I've been singing the praises of it. You know, I just moved to a projector system for all my gaming, and a lot of my old classic systems would not work. And the mClassic saved me. It's the simplest lag-free thing I've ever bought. So thank you for that. But do you want to tell our listeners, you know, how you came up with the concept and all that stuff?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So I actually met a guy, a French guy at E3 a year and a half ago. And I was introduced by a friend of mine who does stuff for Monster. And he had this technology. The company's called Marseille. And they had a processing chip that they created that would up-res, you know, video to 4K in near real time and, you know, redraw all the pixels and stuff. I met this guy, and it was one of those things that I tried to debunk his technology, and I couldn't debunk it, you know, and I was like, wow, this stuff actually works. So let me see how I can help what he was doing. So I met with him, convinced him that I could help sell this technology. Let me take your technology that's not really doing that well right now, redesign it, and put it back out there. So he listened. I got to go to my screen now really quick. I went to my 3D printer and I started prototyping and designing and prototyping. And I came up with the mClassic, and he listened, and the rest was history. And we started selling product, and we went viral. And I think we did about $1 million in a couple months, and then we're still selling, and you know, we're getting a lot of good reviews out of it.
It's how you run the perfect startup. You pick one thing and you do it great, you know, and you guys really got it. You know, I've been singing the praises since I got mine. So yeah. Any future plans with it? New versions or anything?
Last I heard, we're going to try to go, if we can get there. It's going to take a lot of money, but 8K and HDR. I've got a couple other hardware things under my sleeve. One thing I've been really trying to tackle is I love the Switch, Nintendo Switch. I'm a big Zelda fan, and I love the Nintendo Switch. And I've been trying to work on creating a 4K docking station for the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I already have a prototype, and if I could find it on my crazy psycho Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory desk, I'd actually show you what it looks like, but I don't.
Yeah, for our listeners who can't see the video, you're surrounded by hundreds or thousands of gadgets and electronics.
Yeah, that's what I do. This is my laboratory. You know, like I got a crop cut back here, vinyl stickers, 3D print. I just ordered a laser cutter. I'm ordering a water jet. I mean, it's ridiculous. In here, like I'm trying to build a rocket.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Upscaled like 4K Breath of the Wild would be. I don't know if I would ever like turn off the TV if I had that.
Well, no, you can do it now with the mClassic, but you just have to do it in the regular dock. And I hate that dock. It's super big. It's ugly, and you know, Nintendo should be ashamed of themselves for making that thing.
Yeah. I think I have the Switch Lite, so I can't do anything really cool with it. But my kids have the good Switch. That's the way it works in my family. My kids have the dock. I have the miniature one. But yeah, a lot of things, like the Switch is a great system, but yeah, there's a lot of things where it just feels like Nintendo was just trying to save a few bucks on it.
Yeah, most definitely. So, you know, and I'm glad I was able to turn the video on, because a lot of people out there, you know, I see little people talk, and I never responded with anybody. It's like, oh yeah, he's another one of those rapper guys that's just trying to capitalize on the gaming market, or to capitalize on the technology thing. Just get out there and say, oh yeah, I'm a technologist now, or oh, you know, put my name on something. I don't want my name on anything. I do work. You know, you can see I'm in this 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, trying to create the future of technology, and that's
Yeah, you're like you're like a new Steve Wozniak, really.
yeah, technically. And I wish I could show you. I can't carry it in here. One of my partners is EVGA. He makes all the graphics cards and all that stuff.
Mhm.
They blessed me for Christmas. I do a lot of vlogs with them for raising money for St. Jude's Hospital. And they know I love SpongeBob. I wish I could turn my camera around my room. Well, you can actually look in the mirror and look up.
Yeah, see.
Yeah, I'm SpongeBob in it. They built me a one-off, Modders Inc. Giving him a shout out. They got a guy, Modders Inc. They built me a one-off SpongeBob gaming computer, and it looks like freaking SpongeBob. Like the eggs, the arms. I'll actually maybe email you a picture that you can post like that. But it's crazy, and there's a video out there too on it. So I always give them a shout out on that. But yeah, I'm deep in it.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, well, anyone who programmed a TRS-80, definitely a real technologist. I had one of those. I was fairly young. We had one, and that's not an easy computer to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Apple II I could program just fine. The TRS-80, that was I don't know why. I mean, they were both basic. At the end of the day, it was similar languages. I mean, I assume you started with basic too, and then moved on to more advanced, right? But like, yeah, the TRS-80 was always just I always felt to be 100 times more difficult than the Apple II.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
We'll bring this to a close. So at the end of our each episode for the Retro Game Club podcast, we're like a book club, but for retro games, and we pick 2 games each episode for our listeners to play and email us about. So I'd love if you wanted to pick one of our games this episode. Any game from Atari 2600 to really Dreamcast, pretty much.
Wow. What game would I say? Atari 2600. What was my favorite game? Atari was Galaxian?
Galaxian? There was a Galaxian.
There's a
Atari, I
Galaxian,
think,
absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, Galaxian.
I love that game.
I really like. I love Galaga more, but Galaxian. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the original. Yeah, it's the original. It's a very, very fun game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
Cool. If people are trying to keep up with what you have going on and all that stuff, how do they follow you?
OG Arabian Prince on social. Just OG in front of Arabian Prince on all my social. Innovate Next, my website, which I haven't updated in forever. But yeah, just OG Arabian Prince. You can catch me, and get ready because I'm about to start a vlog. People have been trying to get me to do like a vlog for freaking 10 years, and I'm not the guy. I'm more of a like to try to be behind the scenes kind of guy. Mm-hmm. But in order to sell product, you got to be that guy. You got to get out there. We're going to start doing, I love tech, and I think I'm just going to start doing some reviews and just kind of talking about the future of tech and some things like that. And somebody's got me getting ready to do an internet radio show called, what are we calling it? We're going to call it The Mothership. So I'll be doing that every 2 weeks. So if I'm going to be doing that, I might as well do some video stuff as well. So you're going to start seeing me out there with my SpongeBob computer.
That's great.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, we'll plug everything you do. So, well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It was an honor.
Yeah, I appreciate this a lot. This was really great. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.
And by the way, my daughter really did like the Barbie horse game.
I believe it.
It was essentially you would like get a horse, and obviously it's right there in the title, and then like you would groom it and dress it and then compete it, like have it in different events. Right? So you would do like not so much rave, like dressage kind of stuff. But it was pretty laid back, not maybe not something I'd want to play, but when my daughter, who's now like 16, was 5 or 6, it was really like the greatest thing ever to her.
And being her dad, you had to play with her.
I probably tried a little bit, but I mean it's not really a multiplayer game. It's really, to me, it's not drastically different than like Nintendogs in a lot of ways.
Really? I liked Nintendogs. I thought that was kind of groundbreaking at the time.
Yeah, I think Nintendogs you can do more for sure. But it's the same basic concept of like, I have this virtual pet and I'm doing all this boring pet ownership stuff, brushing and dressing and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. Listener feedback. Got a bunch here. I'll start with some feedback from Majors, who talks about your projector. You said you could not run 240p 480i. Are you running it? This is a question for you. Are you running it through a receiver or directly wired?
I'm running it through receiver, but that wasn't the problem. Literally, like if you look at the specs, my projector doesn't support under 720. But thank you, Arabian Prince, for the mClassic. Well, for creating it. I bought it myself.
For creating. Yes.
But
we are not sponsored by anybody, not even the Target clearance section or Midwest Gaming Classic.
We don't have a Patreon or anything. Yeah, nothing. So
we will accept free stuff, though. If you want to send us free stuff, we will take it.
Yeah, absolutely, please.
He also talks about the Neo Geo pad. He said you mentioned you weren't a fan of the Neo Geo CD pad. He says he actually likes it a lot, except for the remake version where I guess it comes down to it's a clicky pad. That was your complaint, that it's clicky?
Yeah, it's like, it seemed like a more modern version of the NES Max. Is that what it was called?
No.
That controller?
The NES Max was like the swirly. It had like
the that's
controller
what I'm
you
thinking
swirled. It wasn't clicky at all.
Just CD. Let me make sure we're talking about the same thing here.
The NES Max is one of my least favorite controllers of all time.
So yeah, it has it looks like the NES Max, but it may not work like it.
No, the NES Max does not work like any controller you've ever used. If you look at a still picture of the NES Max, it just looks like there's like a little analog stick or something sticking out of it. That's not what that is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little slidey controller. It's bad. I don't know how you can possibly use it for anything. But anyhow, he says he liked the old feel, but with the Neo Geo Mini, they redesigned it so it's now not clicky. So it might be something that you like better, except it's something that now he thinks is worse. Agrees with you. Darksoft is doing some great work, and he has the F3, CPS2, and CPS3 boards. He got the F3 specifically for elevator action returns and Ray Force.
Yeah, Ray Force is a good game. That is a really good game.
On a side note, elevator action returns on the Saturn goes for more than the actual arcade. I would believe that because I did not know it. I did not know there was elevator action returns for Saturn.
That is funny.
And I mean, I'm not like a super mega retro game expert, but it's fairly safe to say that if you name a game from the 90s that I've never heard of, I'm going to go ahead and predict that game's really, really expensive.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
For games, for Game Club games, Rogue Squadron, not a big fan of the game, he says, but Frogger 2 3 Deep. He says he hasn't played the 2600 one, but he said notes that there's a Frogger 2 on PS1. He said it was released after the PS2 came out. So when he was at Software Etc., it would have just been in the filler or shovelware section.
That's about right.
And he speculates that it's the 2600 version is just a cash grab on the popularity of Frogger. I do agree with that.
That's probably
this
right.
elevator action returns for Saturn looks like an amazing game, actually. It looks like it's got a bunch of cutscenes and stuff. So, what else was on here? Super Retro 64 says Rogue Squadron is one of their favorite games ever made, and it's a shame the series ended with the disappointing Rebel Strike, which of course is after Rogue Leader, which I played. He says the Battle for Naboo game is also underrated, although it takes a while getting used to the vehicles.
Yeah, I heard that it's like a spiritual successor to it. Yeah, I'll have to check that one out. Because really, the best things about the prequels are the video games.
Yeah, I know I've said before, and I know it's a somewhat controversial position, but I really think Star Wars Episode 1 produced the best video games of any Star Wars movie. Because it's not just, to me, it goes beyond like just, obviously you have Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, which is my favorite Star Wars game. But you have like Star Wars in some of these like later Star Wars games, you have levels from Star Wars Episode 1 that are good. So I really think Yeah,
Return of the Jedi definitely had the worst of all the games. But yeah.
Ooh. But see, have you played any of the Clone Wars games?
No, I have not.
There's a huge drop-off, really, in terms of game quality, going from Episode 1 to Episode 2. It's weird. I don't know if they switched developers or what. The other part is like Lego Star Wars games. Like, Lego Star Wars... Have you played those games?
Yeah. I played at least one of them.
Yeah, those are really good. And playing as Darth Maul is a lot of fun.
I believe it.
Which is like Star Wars Episode 1, and then like, the weird 5 seconds of that Rogue One movie? The one with, No, or was that the Han Solo movie? I can now blur them into one movie. You've seen the new Han Solo movie, right?
Yes.
Which is the one that has the, what was that series, the medieval series with the dragons that everybody loved?
Panzer Dragoon?
No, on the TV.
Oh,
it just ended recently.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, which is the one that had the Game of Thrones actress in it. That's the Han Solo one, right?
That was the Han Solo movie, yeah.
Yeah, and that has like Darth Maul in it at the very end for some reason. Sorry, spoiler alert. It makes no... I don't know. I like all the new Star Wars movies, but that one...
I don't
know.
The last third of that movie is fantastic. Had they just started there and Darth Maul came in the middle, then you got a good movie there.
I think if you had Darth Maul not appear at all, that movie would have been better. I know he's only in for like 15 seconds.
That was my favorite part of the movie. I love that reveal. I'm not going down that path with you.
Okay.
But some trivia, Darth Maul is played by Sam Witwer, who, if you ever watched Being Human, he's the vampire in Being Human, but he also did almost all of the voices in the new movies for the Stormtroopers, and he was the voice and lookalike for the bad guy in Knights of the Old Republic, I think it is, 1 or 2, and Days Gone as well.
Wait, are you talking about the voice of Darth Maul, not the actor actually in the makeup?
It's the different... I'm pretty sure he's in the makeup, but he's not... It's not the same actor between Episode 1 and Han Solo.
Oh, okay. Well, he's only in for like 2 seconds, so... Like, I thought the guy who was in Episode 1 was basically like a trained martial, like a professional martial artist.
But, Sam Witwer's probably been in more Star Wars movies and things than almost the original cast. It's kind of cool.
All right. We've got some other feedback that Zach was kind enough to assemble for us here. Out on social media, I guess we asked about favorite cartridge game music. So that would be non-synthesized. I know I skipped a question. I'm going to go back to it. And there are a lot of replies. In no particular order, things that got nominated were like Link to the Past, Phantasy Star 4, Bonk's Adventure, Devil's Crush, Blue Marlin, Super Adventure Island, Ninja Gaiden, Mega Man 2, Thunder Force 3, Blaster Master, Skate or Die, Chrono Trigger, Pilot Wings, Streets of Rage, Double Dragon 2, and Jordan vs. Bird. The last one sounds like a joke, except this was an era where EA had some really great composers doing sports games. It's probably I don't know for a fact by Bitslate, it's a Ron Hubbard soundtrack. I'd be willing to bet money on.
And I like how this was heavy on the TurboGrafx. Those soundtracks are my safe places.
Yeah, I mean, of this list, Chrono Trigger, I would give number 1, 2, and then probably Phantasy Star 4 would be number 2 of these for me. Speculation around rumors of SNK making new Neo Geo hardware and a new Metal Slug. Luke says, I don't think it'll be a true console because SNK doesn't have the ability to get this done. And I agree with that. And it would also be hard to enter a already crowded market where people already own 2 consoles. I agree. No chance it's a new console.
3. Everyone's buying the Atari, right?
Yeah. Yeah, everybody, of course. Alan hopes SNK has more ideas than just New Metal Slug and thinks a new Samurai Showdown is obvious.
One just came out. A new Samurai Showdown just came out.
Yeah.
It's really good.
We can always have more.
It's really good. I highly recommend that game. It's in a lot of esports now. It's really surging in popularity. So highly recommend that game.
Yes, I wrote this article just to go back to the esports topic. Like I did this article about like gaming in the last decade, and then I wrote a list of like predictions for this upcoming decade. And one of my predictions was that like a major TV network will start running esports on Sundays. Like
Doesn't
NFL
ESPN
season is over, and now NBC will be running. Like right now, they're all running like they're trying to run XFL.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you, if you just put like a Fortnite tournament on TV, it would have 10 times the viewers of XFL.
Oh, absolutely.
The only problem is like they might be so far behind Twitch and the other services like it that they might not be able to catch up. A couple others.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say I like the next suggestion of which is the hardest word for me to say. Suggestion. Tracy suggests a remake of Last Blade 1 and 2. That is a good idea. And then Lehman suggests a sequel or remake of Magician Lord, which that's a good idea as well.
And then we had a debate over the definition of a retro game, and there's one of the ones in here I think might be my new standard. The first one here, these are all good. We did not get a single bad answer. These are all great answers. Michael says it's a very nebulous question. The systems maybe should be at least 10 to 15 years old, but it needs to be the type of game they don't make anymore, not counting intentional throwbacks. Like, for example, he mentions how like first-person shooters, of course, are still popular, but they don't really play anything like Doom or GoldenEye. Mm-hmm. So then you could argue that those are retro. Which I get that. That is a little fuzzy. The second one here from Lehman, sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly. And I like this definition a lot. From a home or arcade system that hasn't been produced for at least 10 years.
So it's not 10 years old. It hasn't been produced for at least.
Produced, yes. Because keep in mind, like the Nintendo Wii had a new game release last year.
Yep, and it outsold all other platforms.
That's right, it did. It sold more on Wii than any other platform. I realize they haven't actually produced the Wii in probably 4 or 5 years. But that's what's kind of interesting with the definition, because if you could say like the Wii's Wii's over 10 years old now, right? Yeah, it's 14 or something, right? But it doesn't seem like all that retro yet, and maybe won't be for a while.
Yeah, I don't think it will be for a while. I like Joe's possibly jokingly definition of it has to be 480i or lower, and then Michael comes back with saying, Tennis for Two made in 1958 was an oscilloscope, which is sharper than that, and also by the same definition, the 3DS would be considered retro. But
yeah,
I just like that conversation there.
And then Brandon kind of breaks it down by generations. So like, the PS2, Xbox, GameCube generation could be considered retro now, even though to him personally, nothing newer than the PS1, Saturn, and 64 era really seems to count.
See, when I think about time, like 20 years ago, the Dreamcast in my memory does not feel does not feel retro. But when I pick it up and play a game on it, it definitely feels retro. So I guess it's also how you remember a specific game or what part of your life you were in when you picked it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's hard. And then it's harder too, because like if you break it down by console or generation, like PC games completely throw a monkey wrench in that.
Oh, yeah, totally. And we don't even have generations anymore, with the PS4 and the PS4 Pro and all that stuff.
Well, right, like the PS5. I mean, or the whatever Xbox Series X, One, and X. What's the new system called?
The Series X, yeah.
Series Xbox X. Wait, what?
Yeah, it's
No,
Xbox
I'm serious.
Series X.
Xbox Series X.
Yes.
No one.
No one.
Okay. So, I mean, those could theoretically, like, you don't need to upgrade the hardware in those for 10 years, probably.
No. But if anyone wants to email us, email at retrogameclub.net. Please email us, email at retrogameclub.net. We love playing these Game Club games with you. And if you aren't into the email, which, hey, email is retro. We are on Twitter, thanks to Zach, RGC Podcast, so Retro Game Club Podcast. So at RGC Podcast. And then we're also on Facebook.
Do you still have that other Twitter account that we don't use?
We have it, yes.
Yeah. I know, we gotta get someone to do artwork for that. I keep asking
know.
every episode if anyone wants to do some unpaid artwork for us. And no one has said yes yet. I might have to go out on like Fiverr.com to get someone to do a logo for that account.
Yeah, some funny, ironic logos. But we are on Facebook, and we don't like Facebook or support it, but that's where everyone seems to be. So if you want to go to Facebook and not see politics, just go to facebook.retrogameclub.net, and that'll drop you right on our page. And you could have some good retro conversations. So our games again for this week, first one picked by Arabian Prince is Galaxian, and he uses Xevious.
Yes. Good old Xevious. All right. Well, I think it's about time to wrap this up.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening.